So let's talk about Alien Earth. I'm going to try and keep this short so that I'm not like, potentially some negative Nancy. I know there's a lot of um, videos out there. A lot of people were not pleased with the end result of this. I think we all wanted to give it a chance, first couple episodes, and over the course of the eight, kind of felt like, okay, this is not what was expected. I'm going to start off by saying, first of all, I like the bones of everyone who was involved. Noah Hawley, obviously his work on Fargo, the television series, an Oscar award-winning property as a film, and carrying it over into the legacy of television and holding it quite well in regard to its original source material. Listen, I'm team Ollie all day. Tim Oliphant, been a fan because of and since Dreamcatcher. I know a lot of people don't like that. I should do a movie on that, or a review on that, because it's been my favorite since the beginning, and that's why I like him. And then, of course, the rest of his career, Deadwood, Justified. He's just been a big fan of mine. But it was Dreamcatcher that totally was the reason why I'm Oliphant fan. I'm curious. I would love to know how this pitch came. I would just love to know how this story of making this series came to be, because there are just so many characters, so many creatures, so many questions, and the overarching grappling of the theme, while in the vein of Alien. I think the whole thing of humanity and mortality and this sense of who, in the scheme of creation, who is in the right, and who is deserved. But they're more. It's a window blown way too open, and there is no sense of resolution here. And I'm curious. And given that the projected budget of this was $200 million, I believe over the 8 episodes, it was $25 million per episode. Those are. Let's just take a minute and. I would like to see. It leaves me wanting. Because the budget is comparable, I believe, if not, nearing the same as Andor season 2, which is like, come on. But I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me just figure out how I'm going to say all this stuff. First of all, I think it should have been called Tomorrowland. Disney owns that property. I think it would have been a great play on words given what Tomorrowland is, and obviously there's been movies of it, and we know of that, but I think subverting and playing with the expectations of like, what is Tomorrowland, and then having it be in the world of, the Weyland-Yutani, and now this new company, like these big five companies, right? Almost in the sense of like, FANG today, of like how they are running the world in these fractions, these tech fractions of owning cities, and it's no longer the space race, but it's like the life race of like how we are setting up to live moving forward in the future, and that's with biotech and bio longevity and life extension and AI and X, Y's, and Z's. I think that would have been an interesting way of doing this, because just piggybacking on Alien, this is one of those things where, as an IP ploy, I don't think it best served the interests of the audience just because it had something that they knew people would watch. Like, they knew we were going to watch it because it was Alien, right? Like, they knew you put it there, people are going to give it a shot. And we did. And you can tell by a lot of the videos out there that it ain't vibing with a lot of people. It's split for some. There is a large portion of people who are heralding this as some of the best entry work within the Alien sphere since movies 1 and 2, which I find interesting. I think even Romulus does a good job of, while hodgepodging all of the lore of everything involved, just delivering essentially still an Alien movie, right? Like, it's not trying to it's not moonlighting under the name and then trying to do something else. Like, it's like, no, it's an Alien movie. Like, it's very much inspired by every entry of the franchise and just being like, here we go, this is here, and it works within the world. This, I find that in the same lens of like Ridley, right? Because I think Ridley probably was wanting to do this, like wanting to explore some of the other aspects, right? And clearly, like with Prometheus and that kind of thing, it seems like in a smart way in how he did Prometheus and Covenant, like, well, then he called it Alien Covenant, which was like, okay. But at least with Prometheus, he was just like, okay, it's in this world, but we're kind of going over here, right? And there, there was an alien at the end, but it wasn't an alien movie. And I find that this show should have taken that route. There should have been a different title. There should have been something, like, it shouldn't have been Alien Earth, because, I mean, let's be honest, it's not really, or I mean, yes, it's on Earth, but it's on a secluded island. You know, it's removed from, you know, civilization. It's not like wreaking havoc on civilization. Even when it crash lands, it's still contained, essentially, for the sake of story. It's in a jungle. It's not Predator. This is not Predator. It doesn't look very good. The weakest part of this show, as many people have stated, and I'm sorry, Noah Hawley, I mean, you're fine, whatever. You're making books, you're making TV, you're doing okay. The weakest part of this show is the alien aspect. I'm sorry, it's not good. I mean, and everybody was involved. Everybody was rooting for this T.S. Ellis, the eye creature, the eye, like, you know, little squid thing, you know, that animates anybody that it bores a hole into, which was another letdown, by honest. So it's just setting up this world. It's while it's playing in the world, it's just not it. And just I don't know, the mechanism for doing it is so odd. Like this thing of needing the kid's brain. I don't know why you would make it so that you needed kids to do this thing. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be a spoiler or not. It just, because even at the end, you realize that Boy Cavalier, like, he's no stranger to making AI, you know, synthetics, and then this thing of life extension, but just giving, I don't know. It's like I said with Marvels, like, there's just the plotting of it doesn't particularly make sense for the sake of what you want the story to do, right? You want this, basically this petulant sort of tech trillionaire who's looking for someone smarter than him, which shouldn't be very hard to do given this guy's, it shouldn't be, I mean, he should be able to find anybody smarter than him because he doesn't particularly operate on any kind of wavelength. He's more eclectic, you know, than I would say intelligent. Yeah, putting kids in these, it's putting children in teenage body. I don't know why they keep saying adult. They're teenage bodies, really, most of the time. I mean, they would pass for teenagers, I would say. It's like putting 6 to 8 year olds, it's like 8 to 10 year olds in 17-year-old bodies, basically. And it only serves as a function of just kind of allowing for these dumbfounded ways for progressing the story of, like, the tumult that's going to happen. Like the collapse of everything is only because nobody's taking these childlike minded beings seriously, and then mishaps occur, I suppose. And then you OP Wendy. But I see, this is why the show, it's gonna get too long winded. So I think what could have just happened is they should have just had Wendy be the one. You have one person do it, maybe two, or maybe three at most. So you have three. So then you have just varying levels of that, I suppose. But yeah, and there wasn't a whole lot of science stuff for something that was supposed to be so laboratory driven. It could have just been like a lab based, like just experiments and stuff, and you, which he could write because he's writing Fargo, so he could totally have serialized a sort of laboratory environment, and Timothy Oliphant could have been this, you know, more in the line of like a David character, you know, just being a little more pushing and stuff, and even his motivations become unclear, and he's a character that I liked, but he's just kind of allowing the chaos to unfold, somehow knowing that it would work in his favor to capture another one. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to speak on this show because you know that it's, well, now we don't even know that a season 2 is happening, but it's made in a way that's either needs another season or seems to be fine, as he quoted the creator of, like, maybe not, and that the audience could just make its way forward without it, which isn't really how you write things, because you need to. I don't know why I couldn't get 10 episodes. I mean, this guy has accounted for multiple seasons of a well critically acclaimed, well-running series. Maybe because Alien hasn't particularly performed very well in the box office, but still, I mean, you gave $25 million an episode. You could have driven that down to $20 million an episode, and you get 10 episodes. Operated more on its own steam, because the alien part of it is just so. It's the weakest part, and so I just wonder why it was done, and then by fluke of AI, Wendy just gets to control everything, which kind of is interesting. Yeah, it's like it's not Ripley. Like it's just not a compelling character if all of a sudden she doesn't think like a child. I wish they would have explored more of like what's really happening. Like, are these actual? Is it truly a brain transfer, or is it almost an amalgamated AI simulation of however downloaded, like the uploaded intelligence thing, or is this uploaded essence, the essence of this person, but now in the shell, ghost in a shell type of thing? Like, is it really them, or is it just taking what they knew of them and putting it into this body? Because the way that the dialogue carries on throughout the rest of this season, it's the two guys, the two young, they operate rather, they're childlike and childish. They're rather infantilized in their approach, but it's not. You wouldn't particularly think that these are the minds of children. They seem like young adults, just carrying on throughout the world. So I wish that it just seemed like there was a bit too much of a tonal inconsistency in a way that didn't lend to a particularly enjoyable, like, go along the ride. Like, I feel like the fabric of each episode and each show was kind of like calling attention to where it was missing something. Like, it was like, what? So it just, that seemed a bit frustrating as well. This is the problem of these type of shows, right? You're like, maybe because you kind of want to, the whole trick is like you want to see what happens and what comes next, but it's just like, I don't know, do I? Because it doesn't now, and then in the end, like, they're all just sort of, they're all running, the insane asylum is running, the patients are running, the crazies are running the asylum type of thing, and it's just, I feel like where it ended could have easily been the last 2 episodes of a season. I think it totally deserved a season 2, just for the sake of having some kind of wrap and resolution here. I was not a fan of this. I don't think it needed the alien name. I think, again, they should have made a play on, like, Tomorrowland, or just something that spoke to, like, the state of, like, whatever the world was doing in the Weyland-Yutani world, but not in the alien world. I don't know. So sorry. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, it just was kind of a bummer, because it just, I don't know, interesting concepts. Even the payoff of T.S. Ellis, like the eye creature, didn't do anything. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was just like opening up a whole new world in a way that just, even like even the way that Prometheus ended, if nothing else happened from that, you would be okay. You would ask the question of like, well, what happened? But you would be like, okay, they're gonna go try and find something, you know what I mean? And even the way that, like, Alien Covenant kind of made a departure, and I guess because Prometheus didn't do well, he had to change what he was doing, but like, that was a thread I think the audience was willing to go on. I don't see how this is a thread, because it's so little of it is executed in a way that's satisfying from the alien perspective. The alien part of this was the least alien. Like, it just, the way that clearly plot device, it was like favoring every major character, like no major character was particularly killed by it. A lot of just sneering and lurking. in broad daylight, by the way, which is not a good choice. It just was not. It just was not. I don't know. Like these are things you have to be like. You just have to know this, right? Like you look at it and you just go like, okay, this brother should have died. I mean, the brother should have been dead within the first episode, mind you. I mean, shouldn't have survived the second. And it just was just like, what's happening? Like, why is the alien even here? Like, are they setting up for the Dark Queen? Like, is Wendy going to be that? Because otherwise, we don't need somebody communicating with the aliens. And by the way, Alien Resurrection did this. Played around with like cloning and putting, uploading an essence, and then, Ripley being able to, communicate, and she's like the mother queen, like it's so I don't know. The synthetics angle could have, it could have sustained. I promise you, Disney, I promise you, Noah, I promise you, you could have just had synthetics doing research on foreign and alien creatures. You did not need the alien. You could have had, and at the end, you could have had like some last specimen. Like the same way that you teased about the hanging flower thing that was basically like a starfish that just essentially like, swallows, it just eviscerates, it's just a blood drainer. Like the way that you could have had the final crate be like closed, like have a frosted window so you couldn't tell what it is, but you could see maybe like the shape of the egg that you knew it was a face hugger. And at the end of this, like the last episode, you could have I don't know, whether Hirsch or just something, you could have had like everything's happening and all this kind of stuff, blah 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 blah, like there's havoc everywhere and whatever, and T.S. Ellis is doing stuff and blah blah blah, and the starfish thing and the little bugs and all this stuff, right? And all these things, and you're still talking about extending life and AI, and then all of a sudden, through, I don't know, Wendy or something, just a fail-safe happened, then all of a sudden the door with the crate of the face hugger egg just goes, and it props open, and then the camera pushes in, and then all you see is tell me that wouldn't be, tell me. Like and subscribe for more reviews and reactions to movies and TVs like this, and until next time, keep watching.